Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night. Made it to the weekend. TGIF. Goodness, what's going on? Hopefully, everyone's got a good weekend in store for yourself out there. It is the Earthmaster, about 11:30 p.m. here, California time. Here on July 26, 2024, Friday night. Latest activity shows looks like a 3.0 over here around the Mexico area, south here into the, let's see what we got here. It looks like maybe around the Guatemala or the El Salvador area. A little bit of earthquake swarming going on there in the last couple hours. Latest activity, though, up north here. Let's go ahead and check into the states, see what's going on here across this area. Of course, we had a decent earthquake outside of the Snyder, Texas area. I bought a beautiful wind chime out here from a tractor supply store out here and brought it back here to California. Beautiful wind chime. It blows beautiful in the wind out here in Northern California. When do we get some wind? But tonight's probably not a good idea for wind because we've got a major fire. And by the way, I will cover the fire activity here at the end of this video, towards the end of this update. So getting some activity still, obviously, across the Texas area. Got about 22 earthquakes here. You know, whether you look at it as aftershocks or foreshocks, it's hard to say. It's a sequence of earthquakes out here in the oil fields that are underneath pressure here from the North American plate. We got oil fields out here in Pecos, Texas. And regardless if they're active right now, I did see a comment here recently stating that well, they're not pumping any more oil out of the ground there. You know, they stopped this a few months back. The thing is, the damage is done. The damage is done out here across the North American continent. When you poke holes in the surface here, 5 kilometers deep, you add these little vacant areas that can collapse and produce these earthquakes out here. And that will continue. I promise you, that will continue for years to come out here across the Permian Basin, various oil fields throughout Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico. And again, these earthquakes will be more common. They will be more common. That I can promise you. I don't think we're going to see 6s or 7s in terms of magnitudes out here, but we'll see these occasional 5s, upper 5s, and whatnot. And obviously, smaller quakes. I want to show you guys real quick the last 30 days of earthquake activity out here in Texas. Okay? How does 438 earthquakes sound out there in Texas, right? One would be shocked to find out that there's 438 earthquakes here in the last 30 days out here in Texas. But when you go in and look at individual quakes out here, they're all out across these oil fields. And that's, there's a 100% relation between oil pumping operations, fracking operations, wastewater disposal injection facilities, and earthquakes. That is a fact, and there's nothing that's going to stop that. Earthquake activity will continue in the future, folks, so expect some further larger earthquakes out here in this area of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Colorado, wherever we got these pumping operations, so it's going to happen. Southern California out here. Got one earthquake out in the San Bernardino Mountain area on the North American side of the plate boundary. At 1.2, nothing going on as far as major activity goes. Mainly smaller microquake activity out there in the southern portion of the state for now. Northern California got one earthquake here in the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. This earthquake here from earlier this evening, 22 kilometers deep there. Southern end of the Cascadia. So I bet you that we got a little bit of tremor stirring up down there. Let's see what we got here for tremor activity. There we go. That is it. That's why we're seeing a little bit of elevated activity up there across the southern end of the Cascadia. We got 203 epicenters of tremor across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Now this not earthquake activity, but it's tremor. This is slow slippage, so to speak, there between the two plates, the North American plate and the Juan de Fuca plate here to the west. Basically, this is a slow slip type of earthquake, but it's adding further strain up here across the surface area, across the locked area of the Cascadia. And one of these days, we're going to see a large 9.0 earthquake out here across the area. So we're seeing that little pressure building up here, upstream from the tremor, upstream. This is 22 kilometers deep. If you go further here, right on the map, we're going deeper into the subduction zone area, about 35, 45 kilometers deep. So obviously, that tremor activity is adding strain up here across the subduction zone, and it's a matter of time, folks. It's a guarantee. We're going to see a 9-pointer out here. It's not a fairy tale event. A little bit of microquake activity there across Mount St. Helens. Really nothing major. We did see one earthquake here across Mount Adams. It's a little interesting there. A 1.9 early this morning. Nothing new. But got to remember here, with elevated tremor activity, that should stir up volcanic activity, right? Because that's where the activity comes from, deep below. When you get this activity melting here, you get the plate melting well below this area, that stirs up the volcanoes, and that's kind of what we're seeing out here recently. Nothing of active volcanic activity in terms of eruption, but we'll keep an eye on this in the future going forward here. Yellowstone National Park, a little small microquake out there, but I do want to double check, see what's going on. By the way, if you guys want to know, that 5-pointer down there in Texas, right, that showed up very nicely there across the Yellowstone seismograph stations. Maple Creek, Holmes Hill, Parker Peak. That is the 5-pointer down there in Texas. That is not a localized earthquake. Please don't let anyone tell you that that's a local underground magma event. There's a little bit of fear-mongering going on out here in YouTube, and obviously some other media outlets out here that Yellowstone's about ready to blow. But we got to put out the fear-mongering from the facts here. We have to, going forward here in the future with everything. It doesn't matter if it's geology, political. We have to realize what is right, what is factual, and what is make-believe here. A lot of AI stuff going on. And unfortunately, a lot of older folks there tend to believe some of this older stuff, at least the AI stuff that's going on here in terms of fear-mongering. So I am here to put that to an end, and when I see it, I call it out. I will promise you I will call it out every single time. That's an earthquake there in the Texas area, not localized. In fact, there's really not a whole lot of earthquake activity there across the area. A little bit of wind events earlier, and I've showed you guys numerous times what the wind does here to these seismograph stations. Not a whole lot. So let's move on here. I'm not going to make this a super long update, folks, I promise. Further out and about, a little bit of oil field activity there in Oklahoma. The rest of the world here, let's take a look at the globe. New Zealand rocking and rolling here across the area. They did see a 4-pointer out there, North Island. A couple other 3-pointers underneath this area. Getting some deeper activity here into the Kermadec Trench. This area, it's very capable of producing some large damaging earthquakes there. And it's been a little while, right? We got that stress and strain built up here across New Zealand. It's coming. There's a large earthquake coming, similar to, if we were to say California, right? But this area across New Zealand is way more active than California in terms of plate stress, adjustment, and whatnot. So it doesn't take, a couple hundred years to build up strain out here across New Zealand for a large earthquake. So we'll continue to watch that there across the area. Deep, super deep movement here into the Izu Trench. See these rings raised well off the globe there, just south of Japan, Izu Trench area. Typical clustering going on here across the Taiwan area southward. We're getting a little bit of migration well northward. It kind of jumped this area, Sumatra area northward across the Andaman Sea. The pressure jumped this area, and we're getting a little bit of activity up here across China and this little bend here in the plate boundary. As you can see in the Myanmar region, this area is seeing some elevated activity, but the pressure transfer has skipped this area right here. So obviously we want to watch these seismically quiet zones. So that would include Myanmar area southward here, Andaman Sea. Roughly about here to the Sumatra area, northern end of the Java Trench. The rest of the area out here got some movement out in the Red Sea. So let's go check out what's going on out here, right? Very important area. 4.7, 4.2 earthquake. Someone mentioned out here, I'm not going to say the YouTube channel, but someone said that there's some hot spots going on out there in the Red Sea around volcanoes. So this is the satellite-based hotspot imagery, but there's little specks that are picked up all over the place. Like South Africa or the Africa area is not really on fire like this. This is just some errors that are being picked up. But the Red Sea out here, there's obviously some volcanoes. A couple hot spots being reported out here across this area. But I believe those are errors because the earthquake activity is north of the hotspot area. The hotspot area was down here. So I think those are not legit in terms of any type of volcanic activity. The Red Sea can see obviously some earthquake activity on any given day, but it's not affecting the volcanoes out here for now. This is actually from the NASA site. You have to go in and really look at the details and click on it to see any type of certainty. This is a fire here in Northern California. If you click on it, it says no data and whatnot, but obviously we know there's a big fire going on out there. It's got some structure, but there's certain areas out here that may be not accurate when it comes to looking at this map. Further out across the Mediterranean area, got a 4.6 early this morning out there around the Sea of Crete, showing up there on the USGS or the Earthquake 3D globe. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot going on. Notice, though, there's a little bit of deeper activity out here across the Middle America Trench southward into the South America region. There's quite a bit of deeper activity stirring up out here. So keep an eye on this region. A lot of deeper activity indicative of maybe some surface adjustment about ready to take place. The Big Island of Hawaii, Kilauea volcano, we're waiting. We are waiting. There's one earthquake up here around Mauna Kea. I don't expect this volcano to stir up. It's an older volcano out here across the hotspot. But you never know. Things can change down below, right? 2.3 Mauna Kea. Over here across the Kilauea volcano, things have died out a little bit. Let me show you guys the latest information here. Let me refresh this real quick. Show you guys here from the USGS volcano site. As we zoom in here, we'll check out the latest seismograph station and the past 12 hours. Look at that. Things have really died out here in the past 12 hours. We've lost a lot of earthquake activity. Nothing really going on here. So it's a little interesting. We haven't really seen any displacement of the magma that would cause the lack of earthquake activity. I think that we're just at a standstill right now until we see a further push-up of the deeper area of magma below, and that would be coming from the Pahala area. Right now it's somewhat quiet over here across the deeper areas, but once this gets going again, I think we'll see a further increase in pressurization here across the Kilauea volcano. But as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of uptick going on there for now. The deformation data here across the summit area leveled out here across the summit area after a pretty extensive deflationary event there off to the upper east rift zone. So we'll continue to watch that. It's there's no magic crystal ball to predict when things are going to happen. I guarantee you. Far as space weather activity goes, well, wow, looks like we're getting a little bit of M-flare activity right now from this sunspot currently facing the Earth. There is that M-flare activity. Actually, a couple different regions out here on the sun. Got two different regions here producing a little bit of flaring activity. peeking up here into the M flare category, middle M flare category. Looks like an M3 pointer and an M4 pointer over here in the last couple hours. That's pretty decent. Let's see here what we got for these sunspot complexity areas. Obviously, this region I said to watch here recently because it is showing a lot of peppered different colors here, indicating some complexity. And also this area over here is showing a little bit more complexity as well. So we're looking at two different regions here that could amplify here in the coming days for some stronger flaring activity. We'll definitely watch that. Obviously, it's kicking up right now, right? Aurora forecast. Well, tonight, it's supposed to get a little bit of storming going on here. KP index of 4, but I'm really not seeing anything major stirring up out here across the auroras. A little bit across the extreme higher latitudes and obviously down in Antarctica, but really nothing major going on there for now. All right, a real quick look here at the Watch Duty app. I need to cover this because it's pretty important. We got a major wildfire out here in Northern California. The largest fire since 2021. We're looking at over wow, they've actually updated this. 300,000 acres right now that has been burned in the last 2 days. That is a huge, dramatic wildfire that has, wow, it's unbelievable to say the least. This wildfire is very capable of becoming California's worst wildfire. It has, I don't know about deaths right now, but it's well above the level seen back in the campfire, right? You guys remember the campfire in Paradise as far as coverage goes. But this has the potential to be a very large California damaging wildfire. So the hot spots are being picked up here across satellite-based imagery. Here's the perimeter for the fire, the park fire, but I've been reading and I've been listening to the scanner that the fire has surpassed here Highway 36. Highway 36 goes up into Mount Lassen. Shingletown up here, the fire has jumped the 36 area and is headed to the Shingletown area where there is a mandatory evacuation order being produced up there. So major northward movement, and also there's a large area on the eastward side here of this fire that's heading up into the mountains, a higher elevation here, above 32, areas that have not been burnt. So we're talking about some major torching, major flaring going on here for this fire. Almost a worst case scenario right now with this fire. It's not good at all. Evacuation orders all throughout Paradise, California, Magalia area, right? These guys just dealt with the campfire a few years back, burnt down Paradise, Magalia, and a lot of fatalities out here, unfortunately. Now they're underneath a evacuation warning, not an order. This is basically letting everyone know, hey, get ready. You need to be prepared. So here's the hot spots out here. Got a northwestward wind here. You can see those wind bars here pointing off in this direction. But the fire is still continuously burning up here across the canyons. A lot of drier area. So these guys are not underneath an order yet. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Most of the brunt of the fire heading up north, Shingletown area, Mineral. We even got some evacuation warnings up here across Lake Almanor area once again. These guys just dealt with the Dixie Fire a couple years back. So this is a major, huge, unprecedented fire out here today in the past couple days. And it was all started from an individual that lit a car on fire and drove it down a ravine here in the upper Bidwell Park area. Started a little fire, grew into a huge one of California's largest fires out here. So it's a big scary deal. We got some stronger south winds kicking up right now. In fact, I'm probably going to open up the windows here tonight because it's actually rather cool out here. We got, look at Sacramento, 62 degrees right now at almost midnight. So this is going to be a nice cool night, but unfortunately we got some wind gusts out here from the delta that's going to stir up that fire up here. And unfortunately it gained some strength here overnight. And the only positive thing is cooler weather out here, but the wind is not going to be good. So it's a bad deal, folks. It's a bad deal out here across this area of California. There's really not much left to burn out here, but the areas that have not been burned are currently burning right now. And I hope that everyone heeds the warnings out here and evacuates safely. We do not need any fatalities out here with this fire. I'm out of here, folks. Have yourself a good evening. Please stay safe. And we'll keep everyone out there in Northern California with the fires in our thoughts here and hope for the best. But right now it's 0% containment, 300,000 acres and 0% containment. These guys have been bombarding the area with air tankers, firefighting equipment, and there's nothing, not even 1% containment. It's awfully odd. I'm out of here, folks. We will catch you guys back out here in the morning.